Well, welcome
to the J&O Show,
where we talk about
things that we were never told. I'm Jay.
And I'm O.
And now you know.
If you guys are new to our channel, please make sure that you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure you turn on those post notifications so you can know when we upload. Also, if you're new here, we'd love to hear from you. We talk about relationships and everything that has to deal with it. If you have ideas for show topics, be sure to drop it down below in the comment section and write hashtag next show, so that way we can easily filter through and bring you the topics that you want to hear.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
All right. So as you can see, we're out on location.
I don't know if you actually gonna be able to see that
or hear us.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're actually getting ready to skedaddle, and so we wanted to just kind of show you guys where we were in the past few days. I'm sad.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. Yeah.
But yeah, that was it. We'll pick up this episode when we actually get back, because it's after checkout time and we gotta go.
Yeah.
All right, but we figured we figured it'd be nice to do our intro here. But we'll see you guys back home in 3, 2, 1. And we're back. So today we are actually going to be talking about what are the stages of love. And we're actually going to be sharing our experience, how we kind of went through the stages of love. And this was something that we actually wanted to talk about a while ago, but it kind of came back up last night because randomly we watched The Bachelor. Haven't watched it at all this whole season, but last night was the last episode, so decided to watch that. And and it was that, and then after the final rules, that whole thing. But the reason why this kind of sparked this topic back up for us was because of the Bachelor basically was having a hard time. He was having a really hard time trying to make his final decision between these two young ladies. And he had, you know, they have their last, well, not their last, but like second to last meeting with basically the two final contestants with his family. And so after both ladies met with his family, he had a side conversation with his mom, you know, talking about marriage and him and relationships in general and blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that she told him was that feelings change. And that kind of, I guess, it struck a nerve with me, because I felt like that sent him down the rabbit hole with his thought processes, and he was just like so confused. And while I don't disagree with his mom, I think that there was more that needed to be talked about than just stating that. And I didn't watch the whole season, like I said. I only saw that last episode, but from the bits and pieces that I did pick up from the things that he mentioned, it seemed as though his parents divorced, and the reasoning was because they fell out of love. At least that was one of the things that was mentioned in the show. And there are different stages of love that you go through, and there are things that can happen, yes, to make one fall out of love. And I think that it's important, especially when you're having these conversations, whether it be with your kids or just speaking about it in general, that you give the full picture and don't leave the person kind of out there to figure it out, if that makes sense. So that's why we decided to have this discussion now, because truth be told, we should have had it a long time ago.
Yeah, we were talking about it.
Yeah.
So the stages, now, first of all, if you go and you look this up, everybody's going to have a different list. We sort of went through and found the one that we thought gave the clearest picture, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them gave clear pictures, but this one wasn't too much, you know, too long, and it wasn't too short, because you can get 3, you can get 10 steps, you can get 3 steps, you can get 7 steps, all this other stuff. We found one that sort of broke it down into 5, so a nice little midpoint for us. And we felt that it covered all of the necessary things, especially for like a 20-minute video.
Right.
So that's where we're going to come from. It seemed very concise, but our situation was, I don't think too unique, because, you know, you're talking about billions of people that are in relationships. But it'll show how there's a little bit of wiggle room in how even they have it set up.
Right.
Step 1, everybody always knows, the infatuation stage.
Right.
Everybody knows it's the butterflies. It's the I see this person every time I see them, I feel a certain way. I get the warm and fuzzies.
Right.
And then when you actually get together, you're on cloud nine. You're so excited. You have all of these hormones running through your. It's like every positive hormone in the human body is
all coming together,
activated at this time. Like biologically.
Right.
Everything is activated. The oxytocin, the dopamine, the estrogen, the testosterone. There was another one that they specifically mentioned in the article as well. It's serotonin. Oh, I should have remembered that one too.
Yeah.
So all of them are activated during this stage. So you're on cloud nine. The person floats. I think I said, what was the last episode, the other one? They floating like Magneto.
Yeah.
They float in.
Yeah.
They fly in like their storm.
Right.
They can't, like, it's crazy. So there's that one. Everybody experiences that and they say, oh, I'm in love.
Right.
And then you have a lot of people who are in longer relationships and be like, that ain't love.
Right.
That ain't love. That's just feelings. There's
Right.
emotions and feelings and stuff. But it is a stage of love. Like,
Yes.
don't get it twisted.
Right.
You
And don't knock it.
Yeah, you don't feel like that for just anybody.
Right.
You can definitely feel like that for the wrong somebody. But they have to have some certain things that you as a person look for that trigger you.
Right.
There are people that you can meet of the opposite sex and feel none of that for.
True.
For sure. A lot of people. So in order for somebody to make you feel all of that, there has to be something there that you like. And generally, with the people you're attracted to, they all will have the same certain set of attributes that you like. And I'm keeping it vague because it's different for everybody.
Right.
Some people just love you're of a certain height, you're alpha male, if you're a submissive woman, or if you're an alpha female, or if you're aggressive, if you're passive, if you walk a certain way, if you speak a certain way, if you look a certain way, if you got tattoos, if you don't got tattoos, if you dress a certain way. Like,
Right.
it could be so broad. You love humanity and we're in the same charity thing and we're helping feed the
Right.
children. It could be anything. So I'm gonna keep it vague because that's what it is.
Right.
Okay. Step 2 is when things start to get serious. And step 2 is when a lot of people go when they get married. And they have kids and they move in together.
Right.
And they don't do all of this stuff. But any of these
Any of those
signs when you guys are like, okay, we're together. You're not necessarily the butterflies, but you do tend to spend a lot of time with each other during this phase still.
Right.
You may not necessarily go out and do wild and crazy things. You might just like, yo, I just want to go to the
Netflix
house.
and chill.
Yeah, let's just go chill at the house or whatever. And you're like together.
Right.
A lot of relationships that you see with people who are actually serious about being together, this is the stage that most of them are in.
Right.
And this is where people make a lot of commitments. I would definitely say don't make huge commitments in this phase. Me personally, because there's another phase that comes after it.
Yes, stage 3.
A lot of people who have moved in together and then they changed and they different. They might not have necessarily changed.
Right.
Just to throw that out there.
Right.
And
It's just that your perspective has changed.
your perspective changes
Because you've learned more about the person that you're with.
Yeah.
You've been able to experience them in different settings, different situations, different seasons, all those different types of things. So now you have more to draw from, basically.
So that stage that they call disillusionment, I might call it the reality check. Because this stage is very tricky. This is where a lot of people break up.
Right.
And a lot of times they break up in this stage after making a lot of commitments, which makes it messy.
Yes. Messy.
Yes, messy. So now you walking out on a lease because you can't stand to be around each other, but
Right.
that's gonna mess up somebody's credit. And that's like the least.
Yeah.
Now you already got the baby now, so what you gonna do? Now you got a co-parent. Y'all
Can't
barely
give
like
them
each
back.
other. We got married and now we got to go and get divorced. Hopefully you can get it annulled. It's not quite as expensive. Divorce is expensive. Or, you tied a lot of things in together and now you see certain things that you definitely don't like. This, believe it or not, is a stage of love.
Yes.
It is a part of the experience.
Right.
Everybody has to go through it. Everybody has to go through this stage. There is no skipping it.
Right.
The thing about it is it can be bad because you could start to develop habits and you can start to develop habits that keep on reoccurring and you keep on getting to this stage with people and then walking away from the relationship and not sticking it through.
Oh, it was it becomes a cycle.
Yes,
Yes,
there you go.
Basically, it becomes a cycle that you end up in. So you end up going through this cycle in many different relationships, because once you get to this stage, you think, oh, something's wrong. That's it. Let me end it. And then you move on to the next.
Right.
Not realizing that you keep on getting stuck at a certain stage in love, and you have to see it through.
Right.
In order for you to get past that, so that you don't continue basically on that cycle.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. So that's stage 3. Now, it's not just you got to put up with whatever you find.
Right.
This is also the stage in which you find the deal breakers.
Right.
Now, if you're looking for a relationship, it would behoove you to know what your deal breakers are, and it would also behoove you to have those deal breakers make sense and be fair.
Right.
Not to the other person, but be fair to you.
Right.
Because you could be walking away from a lot of relationships. You could be walking away from a lot of relationships because of unrealistic expectations. And you have to watch that. Now, unfortunately, it's another thing that's different for every person.
Right.
So I can't sit here and give you a list. But if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I have to have a guy who makes X amount of money, you might be shooting yourself in the foot from being able to fall in love with somebody.
This is true.
If you're stuck on he has to be a certain height, or she has to be boom, 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 and she got to be so fine, and she got to have a big old butt, and if you're stuck on certain things, you could be missing out on somebody that could be your forever love.
Right.
There are certain things that are a little bit more frivolous when it comes to love that I can definitely speak on and say that are pretty universal. Money is one of them, because it doesn't stay. It comes and it goes. It flows in and out. Physical features is another thing that's frivolous. Now, not saying that you're not attracted to them, but I would tell you the attraction has to go further than just how they look physically.
Right.
Now, if you're attracted to people who are physically fit, because of the mindset of I want to be with somebody who's constantly exercising, striving to be better. If it's like that, who wants to be healthy, yes. If it's because they got a six-pack and they look X, Y, and Z, and they got they shaped a certain way, and they got big muscles or big butt or whatever, or even facial, like, things in life happen, y'all.
Yes.
So things that just flow. Like, it'll get so serious at a certain part. Like, people will change religions and belief systems during the course of their life. That is a deeply rooted, heavy thing that is a deal breaker that makes sense. And it can still be completely different 10 years from now.
Right.
So something as small and ever changing as how much weight they have on them and stuff like that, that should not be your deal breaker.
No. Deal breakers need to be things like, you want kids and the person doesn't.
That's huge.
That's a huge thing, because there's no in between. And I think we mentioned this in the last video. Like, you can't, oh, let's try and see. No, you can't try out kids. Right. Unless you have nieces and nephews and you want to bring them in for like a week or so, or really like a month, or something like that, and see how that goes. But you can't test out having kids of your own. Right. Because once they're here, they're here. Yep. Something like that is what we mean.
That's a good deal breaker.
That would be a deal breaker.
Other stuff, I mean, being goal-oriented and wanting to live a certain lifestyle, while it does definitely help for you both, you want somebody who is as ambitious as you, or who will work as hard as you. Maybe is even a better way to say it. Who will work as hard as you? Yes, because if somebody's lazy, that speaks to a much larger problem. Right. So I'm with you there. But if we have to have a certain amount of money as a part of your thing, the two leading things that people get divorces are sex and money. Because money flows. It's not something that's guaranteed. Right. I'm sorry to tell y'all that. And you can have all of the let's work hard work ethic that you want to, and that I'll agree with, but saying that we have to have a certain amount of money that could become problematic. That causes a lot of problems in relationships, even when you have the money. Right. So anyway, I didn't want to get stuck there. We sort of kind of did. Well. So after that, they have the stage that people would call real love. This would be stage 4. Stage 4. So if you get past it, and the reason I would call it real love is because now you're at the point where you're making the decision
Right.
to stay together every day.
Right.
When you make that decision to stay together, when you get to that point, that's real love. You're choosing to be in love with each other. And it's not all about you. It's
Right.
about us.
Right.
And that is like, they call it the real love stage. It's still not the last stage.
This is just you've seen flaws and all.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, you know what? I still want you.
Yes.
I still want to be with you.
Yes.
I still want us to pursue life together. Still here.
Right.
You know, that this is the stage where you've recognized all of that and you're like, okay, I'm still here. And as Jay said, you're just making that decision on a daily basis to commit and to stay.
Right.
In this
So,
relationship.
also, now when people get to this stage, the real love stage, it's not always good. Because sometimes people will get to the real love stage and they'll be doing it for the wrong reason. What do I mean?
What you mean?
Okay, so you'll get to this stage and some people will just do it because of the comfort and the convenience of the person,
Truth.
which is not the same
Right.
as what will get you to the last stage.
Right.
Being in a relationship just because it's convenient and because it's comfortable and because it keeps you from having to go out there and start over again,
That ain't
the move. Now, a lot of people do it and last, but what is quality of life? What does that mean to you?
This is true.
That's when that is the question that has to be asked. If you're okay, well, as long as I trust them and they trust me and I see that we work okay together and we're building towards something and stuff, you can choose to do that and you could actually stay in that situation with that person for the rest of your life until you die. And you'll actually make it. You'll be married, but quality of life. What do you want? Do you want to be with somebody that you want to be with? Or will you
and
settle?
Not out of convenience.
Yes, or do you settle? That's a question that you have to ask yourself and that you have to decide whether or not what is for you and what isn't. I can't tell you what to do in that situation. I wouldn't dare to.
You got to figure that out for yourself.
Yeah, but I can't tell you what I would do.
Yeah.
For me, it's a negative. It's a negative because I wanted to have, before I've said I want peace in my home, but I also want there to be, I want to be home.
Right.
Like to just,
And don't you want the person you're with to want you to be there?
yeah, like I want to be around somebody that wants to be around me, not
Right.
who's just settling for being around me.
Right.
And to me, the goal for me is not just to be married, to be in a relationship, to
Right.
avoid loneliness.
Right.
If that's what you're going for, then that's what you should do. Me, I want something more than that. And guess what? You can have that if your other expectations in relationships are realistic. It's hard to have that if you're saying that they have to look a certain way, they have to have a certain amount of money. If you're doing it based on things that will pass away, that will fade, that will ebb and flow, go up and down, then that your relationship, you have a danger of running into that type of situation. So there's an interconnectedness. And then the last one is when you building. I call it the building stage. That's not what they said in the thing we looked up. I call it the building stage. Stage 5. And that is when you guys start to click. You've gotten now, not only do you make the decision to stay with each other, but you actually starting to figure out how to work together to build.
Right. As one, as
Yes.
a unit.
Yes.
You move as a team.
And I think the example they had in there is that about the horses pulling load. And they had one horse and they saw how much it would pull, and then they said, hey, if we put 2 horses on a carriage, it should pull twice as much.
Right.
And then what they found is when they have 2 horses that are in sync, that they actually pull more than double the load.
Right.
So it's like that. When you get with somebody and you figure out each other's quirks, strengths, and weaknesses, and you actually make the decision
And
to
you complement each other.
yes,
Yes.
and you complement each other, and you
Remember,
make
you work together.
right. You make the decision to work together
Right.
to cover each other's weaknesses and to rely on each other's strengths. Now, the thing is, this is what's hard for people to do when they're like independent women, and
Right.
even independent men.
Right. Which is something we talked about in previous
Right.
episodes. I don't remember exactly which one.
It's hard for
But
you
I'll
to
put it
get to this if you're
here
in
somewhere.
that mindset, because you're like, I can do it by myself. It prevents you from being vulnerable,
Right.
because you have to be vulnerable in order to complement somebody and to build together.
Right.
And I'm sorry, but real love requires you to be vulnerable.
Right.
It requires you to admit that you have faults. It requires constant growth.
Right.
Because your partner is going to call you out.
Yes.
And it's easier to take that calling out if you at least like them. If you at least like them,
Yeah.
it's okay
This is true.
for them to call you out.
This is true.
It's better. It's not okay. It's just better. because
it's still gonna
sometimes,
sting a little. You gonna be
sometimes
like-
it's going to bite. It's going to, come on, why you got to be, but if they like you, they'll want to soften the blow.
Right.
If they don't like you, they're just going to tell you bluntly they don't care about your feelings. They
Right.
don't care about, I'm going to just tell you what it is. And then you got to sit up there and wait for however long it takes for you to get over your feelings on how they talk to you
Right.
to actually take the lesson. And that could be weeks, months, or years.
This is true. Ain't nobody got time for all that.
Yes, it's counterproductive to
Right.
be in a relationship where y'all can't communicate and take things, give and take with each other.
Right.
So that, I would say, is like the final stage. A lot of people never get there.
This is true.
A lot of people,
And it's unfortunate.
yeah, a lot of people will get to the real love stage at least, which is great. I'm gonna be honest with you, that's still great.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't get to the stage where they get to build and multiply together. It's hard.
And
It's not easy.
I was gonna say, and one thing I said, this is gonna be a long video. I'm sorry. We
Yeah,
might have to
I'm
cut
sorry.
it and make a part 2.
Maybe.
But I was gonna say also, something you had started to talk about earlier when we were having this conversation, that you went through all these stages before we got married and circled back.
Yeah.
So-
that's probably gonna have to be a part 2.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind. That
It's not linear.
yeah.
You're not gonna go
Like
straight through all the
you
time.
can. There are resets.
Right.
Things can happen.
Yep.
Like life altering events can make you change mindsets and make you have to, I don't know if I want to say reevaluate, but it changes you in a way that makes you look at things differently, and you kind of have to go through those steps all over again.
Yeah. So I have an example of that, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save it for the part 2. And I think the part 2 we're gonna talk about us and other examples.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do it like that. But look,
Yeah.
those were the 5 stages that we saw. We sort of tweaked a little bit, touched them a little bit, and it would be great for you guys to go through it, see where you land.
Yeah.
And at least know what's coming.
Yeah.
Some of you might be in that stage 2 and the disillusionment ain't hit you yet. Don't freak out.
Right.
It's necessary.
Right.
Or maybe you're in disillusionment. Maybe you're there.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's something for you to push through. And if you guys notice a pattern in your relationships where you seem to end a relationship at a certain point, can you figure out if that's the stage that you keep on
Right.
basically like
Resetting
deuces?
that, yeah.
Yeah, like is that the stage that you keep on leaving?
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure out why. Why does this keep on happening to me? Why do I keep on going through this? Why do all my relationships seem to end the same way?
Right.
This could be the reason why.
Right.
So comment down below and let us know what your thoughts are. Have you experienced different patterns? Have you figured out the stage of love that you're in, or if you've gone through all the stages? Have you gone through and gone back to some of the stages? But definitely let us know. We want to be able to hear from you guys, and like we always say, we're trying to build a community where we can have these conversations so that we can build stronger relationships, so that way we can build stronger families, because families are what make up our communities in our society and the world that we live in. And we're just trying to make the world a little bit of a better place
Yes.
for all of us. Okay?
One thing I want to say before we leave, I know a lot of times I found myself lately harping on feeling that it's important for people to actually genuinely love each other. I mean, I know there are a lot of people who don't necessarily believe that that's a necessity. And like I said earlier, I believe that everyone can find someone who loves them so that they can experience the best version of love. And I believe that can be you too. It might require you to put some work in on yourself.
Right.
To be the type of person who can be in relationships. Because believe it or not, there are personality traits that are not good for relationships.
Right.
And if you have those traits, you gonna have to check yourself if you want to have a good relationship. Quality of life. You can do it. I sound like a motivational video. That was not my intent, but you can do it.
Yes.
Like, stop thinking that you can't. The hardest thing you will ever change is yourself. But if you
Yes.
change yourself, you change everything. I firmly believe that. And I believe that anybody watching this video, you can have that relationship. It might require you to work on you.
Gotta put in the work.
You might have to work on yourself. Pull up your britches. Get your stomping boots. Put on some Timbs.
Boy, if you don't
get your beat up jeans that you do work in. Put on your beat up hoodie and get to work.
Bruh.
Stop running from it. You might have to change yourself. Guess what? That's what life is about. Changing yourself to get what it is you want out of life. If you want to be spiritually better, you have to change yourself.
Right.
If you want to be in a better relationship, you have to change yourself. If you want to get your money up, you have to change yourself.
Right.
Life is about that, changing and growing, getting control of your emotions your whole life. This is childhood to adulthood, learning how to tame and control your emotions. Full stop. That's it.
Yeah.
Learning how to tame your emotions and make decisions based on what it is you want. Having an idea of what you want and going for it. Figuring out what you got to change, what you got to move, and doing it. You can do it. Whatever it is. And some of us have some of the worst habits that we have to change that are ingrained so deep in us from when we were kids. Trauma. I get it. I get it. I have had to do the same thing. She had to check me on how I talk to people.
Bruh.
Yes.
I was blunt. I believe that the truth was the final stop.
And the truth to set you free.
And I didn't care how we had to get there. I would just tell you the truth. And I expected people to do the same to me.
Right.
It just was what it was. I didn't feel that it had to be some long emotional, yo, go take the sting, be hurt for 5 minutes or a day, and then come back.
Yeah.
You can do it. Stop thinking that you can't. I believe in you. You need to believe in yourself.
Yes. Okay.
I'm sorry, I had to do that. I had to do my motivational moment because I don't want y'all to think you can do it.
Yes.
And I don't want you to fool yourself into thinking you can't.
This is true. Because you can.
That's right.
As long as you're still breathing, you have the opportunity to change.
Yeah, I feel like I was yelling at my teenager. I'm sorry.
So thanks for tuning in, guys. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Turn on your post notifications so you can know when we upload. All right. But we will see you in a few shakes. Well, technically, we'll see you next week. But for us, it's just going to be a few minutes because we're going to come with part 2 to share our experience on our stages of love. All right. Talk to you soon.
Peace.
Peace.
Press the off button.